And 9 times out of 10, churches that won't take attendance records or baptism records, it's because they are already in a state of failure and they're comfortable with it. They don't want to be challenged, or they don't want to be exercised to think differently. They're quite content. And they're the ones that I'll often talk about. It's all about faithfulness. God is sovereign, right? I mean, are we not the Calvinists, right? God will save who he wants, when he wants. Okay, sure, but that's not the way he told us to interact with the mission, right? Like I could stand at the sugarcane field, it's all ready to be harvested, and I could be holding my sickle, and I could say, God, you are sovereign over the harvest. If you want this sugarcane harvested, you can do it. Who am I? A mere puny human of wonderful humility. I'm not going to harvest this. Like that's arrogance, right? God doesn't honor that. God rejects that. Jesus tells his disciples and apostles, go into the harvest. Go into the harvest. I'm sending you out. Because there's a harvest to be reaped. He says, white is the harvest and ready. So pray to the Lord to send laborers into the harvest. And so part of that means a responsibility administratively in the church to regulate and tabulate what that looks like, what attendance looks like, what are our conversions, how many gospel tracts have we distributed, how much time have we spent on the street preaching the gospel, answering questions, engaging with unbelievers on university campuses and in downtown areas. Like, are we keeping record of our missional endeavors? Are we striving toward progress, advancement and growth? Or are we settling in complacency and by that, fruitlessness? I'm shocked as I am constantly reminded that a growing majority of churches in Australia and the US are not keeping counts of anything. And I think there comes to a point where you've been fruitless for so long, you don't think there's any value in keeping count anymore. Like, why am I still counting? We're still declining. We haven't grown. Rather than take responsibility for that, people just roll over. They just roll over. Oh well, God is sovereign. And they think that Reformed theology gives them a cover for passivity, and it doesn't. And it didn't in any of our forebears. Again, if you spoke that way around Richard Baxter or Charles Spurgeon or John Calvin or Adoniram Judson, they would be deeply offended to hear you talk that way. Deeply offended. They would say that's not what Reformed theology does. That's what bad species of Reformed theology does, but not the true article, not the biblical article. That does not lull you into passivity. That energizes you to action. That's what they believed. That's why their lives are the way that they are. There's always someone else to reach. There's always somewhere else to go. There's always some other place to proclaim the truth.